All right, we got some oddball Wednesday and Thursday games down. We'll break down the 6-3 game Seahawks just getting by the Bears. We've got NFC West scenarios now for the Rams and Seahawks. We've got NFC North and one seed scenarios, as well as we make the picks for the rest of the schedule for week 17 coming at you right now.
NFL analyst Brian Peacock and former NFL scout Matt Williamson bring you expert NFL analysis every day in less than 30 minutes. Get an inside look at the NFL on the field and in the front office with elite breakdowns to next-level analysis and in-depth information only for the real NFL fans. This is Peacock and Williamson, and it starts now.
Welcome to the Peacock and Williamson NFL Show. Brian Peacock alongside Matt Williamson at BD Peacock at Williamson NFL. Thanks everybody for making us your first listen on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Love and appreciate all the everydayers out there, and welcome to the new listeners. Make sure you subscribe. We appreciate it quite a bit. We see so many listeners from get blown away, Matt, watching our numbers come in and the end of year Spotify Wrapped, which was really cool, and seeing listeners from just countries around the world. And I didn't even know there was 63 countries I couldn't name 63 countries.
No.
And so listeners from that many places in the world is awesome. We got hit up from a few listeners that are traveling as well for the holidays too, in various places around the world. So welcome to everybody that is listening wherever you are from. Subscribe on YouTube or wherever you are listening to this podcast. Today's episode of Peacock and Williamson brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first ticket purchase. So I don't know if the football gods are just messing with us, Matt, because everyone watched the two blowout games on Christmas Wednesday and said, oh man, we didn't like that very much. Can we get a close game? And so the football gods say, sure, here you go. Here's a close game on Thursday night since you want a close game so bad. 6-3, the Seahawks get by the Bears. There was a called back fumble return for a touchdown that was kind of chaotic situation that they could have potentially put the Bears over the top, but it was brought back. It was not to be. Not a lot of offense in this game, save a few screen passes from the Seattle Seahawks. But the Seahawks accomplished what they needed to stay in this thing for the time being. We'll talk about some scenarios where the Seahawks can still get knocked out, but all of us surely hoping to see that week 18 matchup for the division, for a playoff berth. Loser goes home between the Seahawks and the Rams in week 18.
Yeah, first off, with games Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, I think the football gods are trying to get me divorced too. I mean, over the Christmas holiday and family time. Yeah, we're going to do 5 nights this week. Okay.
I mean, it's great when it's just something that's on the TV around the holidays and nobody's paying attention. But when it's your job, it starts to make things a little bit more difficult around the holidays.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing the fam a little. But hey, this was not a barn burner, to say the least. We had weather. We had terrible clock management at the end by someone that shouldn't be a head coach, that was a position coach a couple of weeks ago and looks like maybe a promising coordinator, but is not a head coach, obviously. The Bears have all sorts of protection issues, to say the least. Their line is hideous. Caleb Williams is one of those guys, too, that welcome sacks. That doesn't help. They have no blitz pickup capabilities. Not the finest performance by Seattle's offense either, but I do think you have to commend both defenses. I mean, we can laugh that a low-scoring game isn't fun, but sometimes great defense is fun. And some of that was true, but a lot of poor execution on the offense as well as weather, et cetera, blah, blah, blah. Too bad offensive lines late in the year is never a good thing either, and these are two of the worst. But I guess the story here is Seattle won. They're very much alive, and the West is interesting, because of this game.
I'm going to run something by you, and I don't think you're a big gamer, Matt, and I haven't played a lot of video games over the course of the last 10 years of my life, but have played a lot of, Madden and NCAA football in my day. My co-host of Locked On 49ers, Eric Crocker, make sure you subscribe. Croc, congrats to Croc, by the way. He just was named head coach of Stagg High School in Stockton, California. So he's joining the head coach ranks, and not on the interim level. He's the new full-time guy there. And he argues that NFL head coaches literally should utilize the Madden football game for
Huh.
no other reason than simulating end of game, end of half scenarios with timeouts and clock management. And he argues that it would legitimately, and it sounds crazy on the surface, it sounds kind of funny, but when you think about it, and look, this is not about anything else necessarily, it's just about clock management. You can literally go through and simulate thousands of scenarios and go through and learn how to manage the clock better, end of game, end of half scenarios. And what do you think about Croc's idea that NFL head coaches should actually play more Madden to make them better at their job?
It's extremely interesting. And as you mentioned, my gaming history is a little bit in high school, freshman year in college, Sega hockey, like I'm talking about, 92, like that era. What's that?
NHL 92, those games were fun, man.
Yeah, that's about as much as and then I started to meet people at college and stopped gaming.
Yeah.
And hey, this is a little embarrassing, but Plants vs. Zombies 2. I mean, that's my game. I mean, on like an app game, yeah. How about that? Nobody.
I've never even heard of that one. Okay.
Oh yeah, I might be the best player of all time at that.
The sequel better than the original on Plants vs. Zombies.
Yeah, they stepped it up. I mean, but still, the number 2's been around a good 5-10 years, maybe.
Okay.
So part of this is my just ignorance of Madden. I mean, to be honest, because I haven't been around it. I'm sure it's unbelievable. My son adores it and loves it. Because I've always taken the other obstacle, or the other side of the Madden argument. Like, all you people out there that just play Madden have no clue how hard it is to be on a sideline where you can't just hit pause and go get a beer and think it over, and millions of fans are screaming at you on the road.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess I just don't know the capabilities of the game. The way you described it, that's a simulation to me. That's like a flight simulator for Top Gun. Let's do it, Yeah.
It's that sort of scenario. And look, it's not everything else. And there's crowd stuff and there's people in your ears. And, there should be people helping you out in these scenarios. So it's not just all on the head coach on the sideline at the time. But the ability to simulate scenarios a bunch of times and instead of it happening once all of a sudden in week 17 live, and you haven't gone through those simulations where you really have a much better idea of it, just can be quite helpful. So I think it's super interesting, and I think there's something to that. If if there's something better than Madden to simulate it, do that.
But do that, right?
But there's a simulation that exists,
right?
Yeah. So, but then, so clock. We see it so many times with clock management at the end of games that I feel like these coaches should be better at some of those things, because there's so much that goes into it, and then everything happens. You put in all this work all off season. You have your scheme, you have your roster, and then you get down to the game and then you screw it up at that point. It's like, well, what's the point of all the other things you did all week long, all season long, all off season long, if you're just going to screw it up when it comes down to it? And you could have an opportunity to really create huge value for your franchise to win or lose a football game.
Yeah, 100%. Now, I'm going to go on like a 2-minute semi-rant here, just because, we also don't have the best game to review either. So, for example, I had this conversation on my Steelers show. The Steelers and these other 3 teams on Christmas played 3 games in 11 days. Now, Houston knows they can't pick up a blitz to save their life. And every defensive coordinator knows they can't pick up a blitz to save their life. The Steelers are having problems, too, on defense with zone concepts and things like that. I mean, and everyone's exploiting it time and time again. Why don't the coaches fix this stuff? There's no time. I mean, these guys don't get practice time like you think. I mean, let alone on a normal week. But like 3 and 11, you're just trying to save bodies. I mean, you can't install new stuff. I mean, everyone knows it's a problem, and you just kind of have to stick your fingers in the leaky dam and hope it's not too bad and make a slight change. But you can't fix things. And where I'm going with this is clock management. Like, Belichick's known for practicing situational football, and that's great. I'm sure he did it more than Joe average coach, and it showed on game day. But that means you're not practicing your running game or pass. I mean, like, there's not as much practice time as there used to be at all, and it's affecting that kind of situational coaching.
Right. And there's so much time taken away from coaches because of, like, there's no shortcut for the film watching. Like, you have to watch the film and you have to diagnose the film, and there's certain ways to help streamline that now with technology. You're not putting a tape in the VCR, right? But you still have a clicker, you still have to go through it, and you still have to comb through the stuff, and you still have to game plan and look at the opponent's tape, and that's just time consuming.
You
There's
have
so
to do
much
it, right?
time there, and so you have
You're
to
doing on the plane
utilize.
ride home after you got beat, right?
Right. Yeah. And you already don't see your family. And so you've got the game scenario stuff needs to happen in the off season and set up to where, you kind of have all this stuff down, because it's not like you're going to have time in week 16 to bone up on all of these situations. Right.
It's tough for those guys to coach fundamentals. They just not enough time. I mean, even like a bye week, people don't realize this, but there's mandatory rules where players have to leave the facility for, I think it's 4 days or 5 days on bye weeks. Like, you can't even,
as long
catch up then. Right.
Unless you're like medically rehabbing something that you need to be at the facility for, you are not allowed to be there.
You have to go away. Yeah. There has to be a vacation stretch.
We've got some scenarios, though, for the Seahawks and the Rams, and who is going to win the NFC West. We've got scenarios for the 1 seed in the NFC as well. NFC North, a really good game this weekend with the Packers and the Vikings. All that to come on this episode of Peacock and Williamson next. Today's episode sponsored by Game Time, and Game Time is all about they're focused on togetherness for this holiday season. And that means when you bring people together at live events, the experience is that much better. And it's the perfect gift, by the way. And when you buy tickets as a gift, not only is it a great gift for the person you're getting it for, it's also a little gift for yourself, right? It's like, hey, we got tickets to a game, and you get to go see a game, but it's also a gift to help somebody else go to the game with you. And Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out all the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste your time searching through thousands of tickets. And you can find some phenomenal deals on last-minute seats as well at Game Time, not only for NFL games or college football games or baseball games or basketball games or hockey games, but how about concerts and comedy shows and theater events near you? You can find all of it at Game Time. And make sure you toggle on the all-in pricing feature. It shows you the total up front, so there's no surprise fees at checkout. My favorite feature at Game Time. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. All right, here we go, Matt. Let's get into the rest of the Week 17 schedule. We made our 6-pack of picks yesterday and made the picks for the Saturday games and a couple of Sunday games. One of them, which probably is going to be a snoozer when it comes to the Raiders and the Saints. We picked Bills Jets as well, which is obviously projected to be one-sided, and actually that line has gone even another point further towards the Buffalo Bills. That brings us to another early game on Sunday, which is the 7-8 Indianapolis Colts at the 2-13 New York Giants. The New York Giants better not screw this up like the Raiders did and get out of that one spot in the NFL draft. The Colts still not mathematically out of it yet, but it's a long shot for all these 7-win teams in the AFC.
Are you looking at 7.5 for this game?
It is 7.5 for Indy on the road. Yes. And by the way, Broncos Bengals will go a long way with the Chargers on Saturday as well, to probably ruining some Sundays for teams like the Colts that are 7-win teams.
Good point. Good point. And I am going to take the Colts. It looks unclear as of this recording if Richardson's going to be ready or not. But they've been running him a lot, and I think if Flacco comes in, they have a really good chance to win anyway. You'll just pick up the production for Pittman and downs and short passing and precise passing. Taylor went crazy last week. I think he could go crazy again. Giants are hideous. This number is not big enough for me.
Yeah, it needs to be a huge line. The path for the Giants would be Richardson plays, and he's got more. I mean, he's got an 8 touchdown to 12 interception ratio this year. Year 2 after the year 1 injury. I mean, just hasn't gone great for Anthony Richardson. Shows some signs, but I was a little bit disappointed because I thought I was going to see more, because he looked a little bit more ready, and he didn't look. It didn't look too fast for him to start his rookie year, and so I thought there was going to be more from Anthony Richardson. So I've been a little bit disappointed there. But the Giants would need some help and some turnovers and all of those things. But the Giants just don't have enough firepower to muster anything on the offensive side of the ball. This could be a close game. 7.5 points is a lot, but the Colts are better, and they might just run all over the Giants. And Malik Neighbors could get over 1,000 yards as a rookie in this game, and over 100 catches. He only needs 3 catches for 21 yards to or 31 yards to have a 100 catch, 1,000 yard rookie season.
Interesting. Okay.
So we're both taking the Colts there. How about the Cowboys and the Eagles? I guess this is a good time to get into the 1 seed stuff for the Philadelphia Eagles. So the Philadelphia Eagles are favored by 7 points at home at 12-3 against the 7-8 Dallas Cowboys. So real quick, let me take you through the Eagles scenario here. The Philadelphia Eagles are a game behind now the Vikings and the Lions in the North. The Lions play the Niners on Monday Night Football. Packers play the Vikings. So if the Eagles want to still win the 1 seed, they're going to need some help. The Eagles have to win their last 2 games, including this one against the Cowboys. The Lions would have to lose their last 2, while the Vikings have to lose to Green Bay in Week 17, but then beat the Lions because hopefully it's a good one for the North and potentially the 1 seed in Week 18. I think that's what I'm rooting for. But Vikings-Lions in Week 18, the Vikings would have to win that one and lose to the Green Bay Packers, and then the Philadelphia Eagles can still get the 1 seed. So that's the Philadelphia Eagles scenario there. I'll talk about some of the other scenarios in a second here in the NFC West and in the NFC North. But who you got? That is the scenario that the Eagles need. I like the Eagles here. Do you like them by 7 is the question.
Not quite. I think they can keep this close. I mean, CD Lamb's been shut down for the year. I don't think Hurts is going to play. And to me, that's enough for me to still take this as a touchdown game. Little fantasy note, when Pickett came in the game, every pass, I think except for one, went to Smith and Brown. Like, that can't be an accident. Just feed those 2, dude. Just go, I think there'll be a lot of defense, not a lot of points, but Cooper Rush isn't terrible. I wish he had Lamb. I think they can keep that within 7.
Yeah, for a game like Eagles Cowboys, the over-under is really low. It's one of the lowest of the week at 38.5, and so that might make it a little bit more difficult for the Eagles to get that 7. But I'm still going to go with the Eagles. I think they have too much to play for. As long as Pickett keeps targeting those guys and Barkley's on a pace for 2,000 yards this season, I think they can still lean on the Cowboys because I don't know where the points are going to come from for the Cowboys with CD Lamb out now. It's just such a big part of their offense. So give me the Eagles. I'm going to give up those 7 points because there's just obviously a lot on the line for them. We've got the Carolina Panthers at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Really important one for the Bucs. They're favored by 8 at home against the Carolina Panthers.
I like them to win, but I don't think they win by 8. I mean, that's a big number against the Panthers offense is playing pretty well. I'm sure the Bucs will run the ball well, and I think Evans and Baker and all those guys will put up their fair share of points, but Carolina's offense isn't a joke.
I'm predicting a bounce back for the Buccaneers this week, and I think they're going to come out and they're going to thump the Panthers and do what they need to do to stay where they need to stay going into Week 18 and trying to win that NFC South. And we'll get to the 8-7 Falcons here in a second because the Falcons really control their own destiny now because they've got that tiebreaker against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this year. So the Bucs have to win this. I think they're going to come out in full force at home and really thump the Panthers.
All right.
Let's go to the Falcons then, since it's the Sunday nighter. But we got the 8-7 Falcons at the 10-5 Commanders. Washington at home, favored by 4.5.
Really good game, and it will mean something, no matter what. I think Atlanta wins it outright. I don't have a great feeling why. I just kind of think Penix has rejuvenated this team. The defense has played better. Bijan has been unbelievable, and he's kind of been overshadowed by Barkley and Henry. But I mean, he's as good as anybody. And that's not a knock on Washington at all. I just think Atlanta is going to keep this thing close or win it. And I'm shocked that the number is as big as it is.
This is a tough one because I like the Commanders. And I like the Commanders at home against the Falcons. And the Falcons last week against the New York Giants didn't need a huge outing from their rookie quarterback. And there were some promising things to see. But are they going to be able to score with the Commanders is my question here for the Falcons. And so I'm actually going to go the other way, Matt. We're going to have some separation this week going into last week with our picks. And I'm going to go with the Washington Commanders. I think there's a good reason that they're favored in this game. And I can't wait to see the step up in competition for the young quarterback and see what it looks like there in a game that's essentially going to be a playoff playoff atmosphere for the Atlanta Falcons. They need to win this game. It's going to be a fun one. And only one team's getting in the NFC West. Only one team's getting in the NFC South. Can the Commanders knock one of those teams out as they strengthen their spot here in the wild card for the NFC? I'm gonna give up the 4.5 points and go with the Commanders. I would like a lower line, but I believe in the Commanders here.
I don't know who I want to get in just for like our viewing pleasure, Falcons or Bucks. Bucks are fun, but Penix is fun too.
Yeah, I don't know how fun Penix is yet. So I guess
I know that's why I see more.
If the Falcons earn it, then that means Penix is fun enough. But right now, I would probably root for the Baker Mayfield led Bucks. I think it's a more fun team to watch. And the way they had played previous to last week really had me excited about that team as a playoff contender. So we'll see how it goes. It's going to be fun the last couple of weeks of the season here.
Totally agree.
Next, we've got a few more games and some really important ones with those NFC North teams. We'll lay out the scenarios for the Rams and the Seahawks this week. The Rams can clinch before they play the Seahawks next week, but we hope that doesn't happen. The Lions can clinch before they play the Vikings next week, but we hope that doesn't happen as well. More on those scenarios next. Today's episode of Peacock and Williamson brought to you by Hillsdale College. And time is our most precious commodity, so don't waste it scrolling through the same mind-numbing content for hours and hours. Why did we do that, by the way? How can you spend it wisely and improve yourself instead? Well, our sponsor at Hillsdale College is offering more than 40 free. That's right, free online courses, including history, economics, the great works of literature. Did you study these things in school? Maybe. Possibly not. Have you refreshed them recently? Yeah, probably not. So now's a great time to do that. And all of Hillsdale's courses are self-paced so that you can start whenever, you can tune in wherever. Plus, you can go deeper with readings, quizzes, discussions, or just enjoy the lectures about the rise and fall of the Roman Republic. I think that might be one I would absolutely check out. Again, among 40 free courses right now at Hillsdale College. Go to hillsdale.edu/lockedon to enroll. There's no cost, and it's easy to get started. That's hillsdale.edu/lockedon to register. hillsdale.edu/lockedon. All right, let's make picks here for the rest of the week, and then we will get into some more scenarios. We've got the Titans at the Jaguars. It's 3-12 against 3-12. The matchup we all expected here, not for the division, but for draft considerations here for these two teams. And you don't want to be picking behind your division rival. For the Titans, maybe it's for a quarterback in the draft. For the Jaguars, it's who knows, for a new regime potentially making picks and trying to rebuild that thing around Trevor Lawrence. Jacksonville favored by 1 point at home against the Titans.
Whoever would get +1 would get my vote on this one. I mean, okay. That's enough for me. If you're going to give me 1 point, that's enough to throw me over. I don't care where it's at. Get chiggy with it with the Titans here. Yeah, I mean, he's been a madman lately. Yeah.
Okay. I'm actually kind of surprised that the line on this one, the over-under, is actually higher than that Eagles-Cowboys games, 39.5. I would go under. We get the Mac Jones against the Mason Rudolph experience here, right, in Week 17.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Jaguars. It's 1 point. This should be a pick 'em on a neutral site, which means the Jags should be getting 3, in my opinion. And I get why you would go the other way just to take any kind of points. I didn't like how the Titans looked like last week. Essentially, they looked like they were so done, and they couldn't even do the one thing good for at least most 3 quarters and really most of the game that they were good at doing previously. So give me the Jacksonville Jaguars here, and I'll give up the 1 point.
This game thanks the Raiders-Saints game because 9 out of 10 times it would be the worst one on the slate.
Yeah. Some really bad ones there in the morning on Sunday. So I think I'll probably be tuning in too. Maybe keeping an eye on the Eagles, but maybe Bucks-Panthers might be the most fun game there.
That's a good one.
Although, the Falcons are on Sunday night, right? And then we got a couple afternoon games here. We got 2 afternoon games here. The first one, we'll do Dolphins-Browns, then we'll talk NFC North. The Miami Dolphins at 7-8. They are at the 3-12 Browns, and Miami favored by 6.5 on the road.
I think I'm going to take the Browns. I think Winston's going to start, which I don't think they want because that gives them a better chance to win. I don't know that exactly, but I'm sure there's going to be some form of weather, wind, etc. And I just think 6.5 is a lot against Myles Garrett and company, that the Browns can keep this thing respectable?
I think despite the record and despite how they've looked a lot of the season, I think the Dolphins are a better team than what their record shows. And a healthy Tua now, they've showed an ability to play a little defense, to run the ball a little bit, make some plays, even when they don't have both Hill and Waddle out there at the same time. And
I'm not counting on Waddle.
A little rain there right now. Could the track be slow and it's just a slog out there? And again, another pretty low over under 39.5 points. Then I could see that the points really making sense here for the Browns at home. Maybe Jameis doing some things, but if it's raining in bad weather, that means maybe Jameis is making a lot of mistakes too. So it still doesn't help out really that much for the Browns, in my opinion. So I'm going to take the Dolphins, even though I don't like the Miami team going to Ohio in December.
Mm-hmm.
Dolphins. Give me the Dolphins.
I don't feel strong about it either way, though, to be honest with you. All right. I can see the Browns cashing it in,
Let's finish up here with the NFC North, because we've got a really good one here with the 11-4 Packers at the 13-2 Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota favored by 1 at home here. And then we'll go through the scenarios.
I don't feel strong about picking the game. If we hadn't, I'll be honest with you, I hadn't had a plan. If we hadn't differed so much on our picks, I was going to, put the Uno reverse card on you and make you pick it, and I was just going to take the other team, just so we had something different.
I can do that if you want. I can pick it first if you really want to.
I'm going to take the Vikes. I just think it's a really hard place to play. I'm just going to go with the home field here. It's not enough points, but I think these are really equal teams, top 6 type teams, potential Super Bowl teams. I think this is going to be an awesome game. So I'm just going with the home team here.
Yeah, I'm going to pick the Vikes because I think they should be favored, and I'm rooting for them to win because I want to see that Week 18 Vikings versus Lions matchup for the 1 seed and for the division. I think that will just be a whole lot of fun there for everybody. And so, and one point, I think I think this is similar to the Jags one. I think these are neutral site. I could see it being pretty even, which means I think the Vikings should get just a little bump being at home, and I think that bump is worth more than 1 point. If I would have picked the Vikings first, would you have pick the Packers?
Certainly, if we had a lot of the similar ones today, I mean, just because I'm that on the fence, it's a total coin flip to me. I think this is a very equal matchup. I don't feel strong about it.
This one's really easy for me, and I can go first on Monday night if you want. But
it's easy for me too, and I'm not picking your team.
I'm not either.
I have a feeling you're not either.
Like 3.5 points. What are we looking at here?
I know.
Trent Williams went on IR. His backup went on IR. The backup to both of them has a calf injury. They just picked up some free agent offensive linemen that might be playing in this game. And I know Lions are banged up on the defensive line, but the Niners are just as banged up on the offensive line here. So there's no disadvantage there for the Lions. And the Lions have gotten through their injuries a lot better than the 49ers have. 3.5 points. The Lions are favored on the road. The 49ers have not proven that they can hang with a team like the Lions right now. And so unless some things get sideways.
Yeah.
And here's the other factor that I think why this line is messed up a little bit. The 49ers beat the Detroit Lions in the NFC Championship game last year. This is a huge revenge game for them.
I bet Detroit remembers that.
Right. They're trying to put away the Eagles. They're trying to put away the Vikings. They're trying to win the division. They're trying to get the 1 seed. There's a lot to play for the Lions. I'm not saying the Niners are going to lay down, but there's a lot less for the 49ers to play. And that revenge factor, like the Lions have circled this game for, and I talked about this to the Locked On 49ers listeners on the most recent podcast, because the 49ers did this exact same thing to the Eagles last year. And they thumped them, and they did a number on the Eagles because that motivation is huge. And the Lions have the motivation here. The 49ers do not. And I think the Niners might run into a Detroit Lions buzzsaw that comes to town and beats them by a lot more than 3.5 points. That's my prediction.
I thought this was going to be a touchdown.
Yeah.
7.5, something like that.
So here are the scenarios now for the NFC North. The Minnesota Vikings have to lose. Oh, wait, no. So that was the Eagles. When it comes to the Lions, here we go. So the Lions' path to clinching in Week 17. It's simple. Detroit has to beat the 49ers, and the Vikings lose to the Packers. In the event that all that happens, the outcome is the outcome in week 18 between the Lions and the Vikings won't matter for Detroit's positioning, but it could potentially still matter for the 1 seed, depending on what happens with the Eagles. For the Vikings, if the Vikings win on Sunday against the Packers, and the Lions would have to beat Minnesota in week 18 to clinch the division and the top seed, no matter what happens versus San Francisco on Monday night. So there's that one. And obviously for the Vikings need to beat the Packers and then win next week against the Lions if they want to clinch it and get the 1 seed, and they would get the NFC North. So there you go. There's the scenarios for the 1 seed and the NFC North as we sit here getting ready for week 17. Should be a good one. I'm pumped for some of those games.
Yeah, there's some stinkers, but there's definitely some fun ones too. And again, they're trying to get me divorced, but it's been able to just really spend a lot of time on standalone games, this week. Crazy week.
I'll let you out of here. I'll let you get back to it so you have at least a little bit of time here before we get to some more of those Saturday games tomorrow. Thanks, everybody. I hope everyone had a great holiday. Make sure you subscribe to Peacock and Williamson on YouTube and everywhere you get your podcasts. And maybe for your second listen, if you've got some time and you're not on the verge of divorce, maybe check out one of the other 200 podcasts here on the Locked On Podcast Network for your second listen. And Matt and I will be back Monday to break it all down right here, Peacock and Williamson.